time to play ball. Welcome to the podcast with no limits, whether it be sports, current events, or random thoughts. This is the place to step in and stay a while. Your host is a proud alumnus of Rio Hondo Prep, a former minor league baseball umpire, and a man with strong opinions. Welcome to the Get Home Safe podcast and your host, Matt Hersema.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Get Home Safe. Happy belated Memorial Day to everyone out there. I didn't get a chance to record on Memorial Day on Monday like I usually do for the Tuesday show here, but we're recording Tuesday morning here, later morning anyway. So never too late to say Happy Memorial Day, as every day honestly should be celebrated as Memorial Day. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful weekend. I wished you a happy weekend here last week, but it kind of still feels so new still, and everything with it happening just yesterday. It's like, you celebrate holidays, the build up to it, and then even after it's over, you kind of, I don't know, you still celebrate it. And I think that's how Memorial Day should be. So many people confuse it with Veterans Day and, oh yeah, it's the start of summer, but no, it seriously is a holiday that should always be respected and honored. It's a big reason we play the national anthem before baseball games and any sport really, to pay tribute to those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to live in the greatest country in the world. And, some people want to make the national anthem about them. I'll get to that in a little bit, but happy Memorial Day. I will say, we all know that it's all about paying tribute to those who came before us and sacrificed so much for us. But there's also a lot of food going around, a lot of barbecue, a lot of good grub Memorial Day weekend. At least that's what we did in honor to pay tribute to those who've sacrificed for us. But a sneaky food holiday, as so many of them are. And you know me, food guy. I mean, look at me. Come on. What do you expect? Of course, I'm going to talk about food. But before I talk about what I ate over the weekend, I got to tell you, I found something on the History Channel that I was blown away by, and I just fell in love with it right away. I love history. I love food. When you put those two things together, what do you get? You get a great series called The Food That Built America. And what it's about is kind of the transformation of going from people out in the country, growing food in their backyard and on farms and stuff, to us in the roaring, the turn of the century there, right around 1900, where big cities started to come up in the US. And so food had to be distributed. It wasn't always fresh. There was all of these innovations just waiting to be taken advantage of. And it talks about, the Kellogg's company, the Hershey company, just all these different brands that we know today that kind of came out of nowhere, their backstories, Coca-Cola, what it was initially meant for, the experimentation, the swindling of guys, taking ideas and people becoming rich, people missing out on riches. Really fascinating stuff. And the espionage and kind of just how our country is today with all the brands and all the options. And it's just like, to think, just over 100 years ago, that stuff didn't exist. And it was a few people, pioneers really, that stirred it up and created things that we know today. Just and the series is fascinating. We're watching it on Hulu, but I think if you have streaming, you can find it on the History Channel. And the first two episodes are like an hour and a half, and then all the episodes after that are like 40 minutes. So we're all in. I mean, the McDonald's, the Pizza Hut, the Bird's Eye, the frozen foods, like how that all came about. It was so interesting. And to know that, again, stuff that we just, a lot of the stuff happened by accident, someone creating something else and then created something that now is $1 billion industry, food chains, and just the way we operated. I mean, there was no refrigerators, there was no freezers, there was just, chocolate hadn't really been a thing in the US. And that's why, Milton Hershey, he took off with his empire. So it was so interesting. You better eat before you watch it, because you're going to want to munch on something. I got to tell you right now. And that was the case for us, definitely. So I dove into that. on Monday, as well as watched some baseball over the weekend. But I encourage you guys, check out this show. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna watch it a little bit more. I'm gonna try to watch what I eat, but I'm gonna try to live vicariously through this this History Channel television series, The Food That Built America. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think. As far as the food from the weekend, we indulged a little bit here. There was maybe multiple days of baked cookies, although we tried to justify it with the whole, oh, these are healthy cookies, right? I heard on an Adam Carolla podcast, I can't remember her full name, but her name was Lauren. It's a cancer survivor, really a sweet tooth person that wanted to kind of come up with a recipe of a cookie that is not too bad for you, I guess, and vegan, gluten free, tree nut, free nut, whatever, all the fancy terms. It was all that, but it was delicious. Sweet Lauren's is the brand. If you're looking for an alternative, I shouldn't say healthy alternative, but healthier alternative, it's worth a shot. It's worth a try. We crushed a couple dozen. I won't tell you which days. We spread it out a little bit, or at least that's what I'm going to tell you. But Sweet Lauren's, Lorens, very good stuff there. A little treat for the weekend. There was also some burgers and some dogs at a friend's house on Sunday night for a backyard barbecue. Of course, we had to do that. So that was a lot of fun. And then we capped off the long weekend Monday night with a really nice dinner. Had a London broil, some veggies, corn on the cob. It was just, so good. And definitely the belt needs some loosening. And you know what? The belt that we wear every day, I mean, I wear one to work every day, and I'm sure you guys wear one, at least the men out there. The belt, man, it doesn't lie. It's the conscience, really, of our physical being. Every day the shirt might get a little tighter, or the pant, whatever, but every day you have to tighten that belt. And if you're a loop down, good for you. But if you're a loop up, it's like, oh, hey, yep, had too much fun the past week. Time to get back to that loop that I was already on. So the belt, I think that at least from the weight gain expert that I am, that is where you start to see it first before you start to see growth in other areas. It always starts with the belt. And if you ignore the belt loop, then you're going to start to see it in other areas, as I'm sure you guys can tell on YouTube watching my ugly mug. So anyway, happy Memorial Day weekend to everyone. It was a great time. Apparently this Top Gun movie has been off the charts and has really been a big success. Pro-American, anti-woke, not anti-work. We want to work. Anti-woke movie, anti-woke film that the audiences, the masses have spoken with their dollars and getting out to support. So I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely am going to. Can't wait for that. That was just something that was kind of the talk of Memorial Day weekend, really. With people hitting the theaters, kicking off their summer, and of course the pool parties and everything else, also as well as paying great respect and tribute to our fallen soldiers. I mentioned, I think it was Friday, I posted something about my favorite movies to honor Memorial Day. A lot of movies you've heard me talk about in the past, Gettysburg, Lone Survivor, Saving Private Ryan, just to name a few. And then I got some pushback. Some people jumped in there. Hey, what about this movie? Hey, what about this one? How could you put this one so low? I'm like, okay, at least we got a good debate, a good spirited debate here, a reason to argue if we must. That's a healthy reason to argue. I was listening, and some people mentioned a few, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. So I just threw that list together in about 20 seconds, and then people chimed in and had their opinions. But it was cool to see, to kind of start the Memorial weekend off that way with some more some great movies that are timeless that we can always watch to say thank you in a way. Just think about those who have done so much for the United States of America. Okay, on to some sports topics, and I have some other serious topics that we'll get to today, but sports topics briefly. The NHL down to their final 4 teams from the weekend. I capped off my Monday night with watching Game 7 of the Rangers and the Hurricanes. Not much of a game there, but the Final Four in the Western Conference, we have the Colorado Avalanche, who I still think are the team to beat, against the Edmonton Oilers. They kind of breezed past Calgary in their series, and that got me even more mad knowing that the LA Kings had Edmonton on the ropes, with 3-2 and couldn't finish that series. But Edmonton and Colorado facing off here literally in the upcoming days for the Western Conference Finals. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay's back again. Tampa Bay, they're just very successful these days in sports. But the New York Rangers, you know what? I forgot New York had good sports teams. The Jets and Giants are terrible. The Knicks, I think they've been demoted to playing at Rucker Park. I don't know the Brooklyn Nets. I guess they're okay. But they got plenty of drama. And then Yankees and the Mets, I guess, are playing pretty well now. But the past few years haven't been much to celebrate there in New York City. Might have to do with the leadership there. That could always trickle down or into other avenues. Speaking of, before I forget, who was it last night? Oh, check it out, the Hurricanes, the Carolina Hurricanes. They got eliminated, but I looked at their head coach. I was like, dumbstruck. I go, they look like Andrew Cuomo. No, Chris Cuomo. Yeah, the brother, the CNN, the communist reporter. It looked like he was coaching the Carolina Hurricanes. I looked at it for a second, and I love doppelgangers and lookalikes. And so if you get a chance, check it out. Look up Carolina Hurricanes hockey coach and tell me if that does not look like Chris Cuomo. It's like, man, he after being fired by CNN, he found himself a job coaching hockey in Canada. That sounds about right for Chris Cuomo. Anyway, Colorado against Edmonton, New York Rangers against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals. Should be an exciting couple of playoff series remaining. And then after that, of course, Lord Stanley Cup will be on the line in the Stanley Cup final, not Stanley Cup finals. I learned that a few years ago. So congrats to those teams making a run. Have you guys ever dated somebody? I bring this up occasionally. You ever date someone and you're just like, you know what? We're going to give it a try again. You break up, maybe it's an ugly breakup or just a peaceful one, but someone wants somebody back. You try, you go, okay, you know what? I bet they'll be better this time. They know my grievances, the things that anger me and irritate me. So they swore to me that they'd change those things. And I've been on both sides of this. So it's not just, a man, female thing. I've been on both sides and been like, hey, I'll change. Or, hey, okay, they said they'll change. You try to get back together, man, it's good early, right? First couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, about a month in, maybe earlier than that, it's like, yep, we should have stayed broken up. This was not, I gave you a chance, or I got given a chance, and it just, it wasn't going to work out. Bad idea. And I just say this because I feel this way about the NBA. I swore them off for so long. I started to, all right, I'll watch a little here. They're getting a little less woke, of course. And then I'm like, let me tune in. I saw some game at the barbecue, but there was a situation in the Miami Heat game before they got eliminated. I think it was game 6, and they paid tribute to the violence victims going on around the country in the various cities. But then, of course, after their big tribute, the moment of silence, then they wanted to get involved before a basketball game, saying, contact your local senator about ways that we want things to be done. Steve Kerr, you're the head coach of the Warriors. You're just an embarrassment. You are the biggest tantrum thrower I've ever seen in my life. Let me slow down. Let me get there in a second. But the NBA, I just go, well, you know what? I try to tune in a little bit. It sucks me in. She brings me back, and I'm like, why did I do this? I knew she wasn't going to change. Why did I come back to this? So, and then if I didn't need anything worse to happen, this is an absolute nightmare NBA Finals for a Southern California fan, a Laker fan, a true LA sports fan, not one of these fake LA 49er fans or whatever you are. I don't even know what to call you guys anymore. If you're a true LA sports fan, this is a nightmare for the NBA Finals. Not only is the Boston Celtics, but then it's a Golden State Warriors, the Southern Oregon team, that the Northern California, not like LA is much better, but that wasteland up there. So you got two of the regions that you're supposed to hate universally as an LA sports fan, not root for the Dodgers and then cheer on the Warriors or whatever, cheer on the 49ers. No. That's not what an LA sports fan does. An LA sports fan is supposed to despise teams from Northern California, supposed to despise teams from the East Coast, specifically Boston and probably New York. That's what they're supposed to do. And if people would just listen to me, maybe we'd have more peace on this earth. I don't know. It's a rule, and I'm declaring it a rule. And if you're not going to be an LA sports fan, that's fine. Don't be one. Root for whoever you root for. The Green Bay Packers. We got a whole nother those bunch of people here too in Southern California. Green Bay Packer fans who won't root for the Milwaukee Bucks. Come on, pick a city, pick a state, pick a region. Anyway, I'm a little worked up over this whole NBA Finals thing because this is a nightmare. I mean, not only am I not going to watch it now because they sucked me back in and said, "Oh, we're going to be woke now," but it's two teams. Now, I respect kind of the war, but they're led by Steve Kerr. So now I'm like, okay, I'm out. Sorry. I'm not doing it. But Matt, they're from California. That's Southern Oregon, LA, California, and Fresno. Anything above that? That's the demilitarized zone is Fresno, California. Anything north of that, sorry. I get friends who live up there. I understand. I pray for them every day for their safety, for their not to be corrupted by Northern California sports. And unfortunately, we got intel down. We got Northern California sports squadrons down here in Southern California. Nightmare, absolute nightmare. NBA Finals could not be worse. I'm trying to think of a worse NBA Finals. People are like, oh, the Clippers. But the Clippers only go to the NBA Finals in like, not Madden. What's the NBA game? I don't even know. NBA Jam, NBA Street. Clippers would never go to the finals. And then who's the other team that? No, it's the Boston Celtics. You have the Boston Celtics in the finals. I'll root against them. Oh, okay. Well, you get the Golden State Warriors over here. I'm not rooting for them. This is a nightmare. This is horrible. This would be Super Bowl related. This would be Raiders 49ers to me. Yeah, that'd be an absolute nightmare. Raiders 49ers Super Bowl. Oh, that'd be the one I probably don't watch, which is it's just weird to think about. Anyway, a nightmare NBA Finals. I don't know what to say, what to do. I'm gonna have to watch hockey. I'm sorry. That's just what I'm gonna have to do. Okay, the elephant in the room is the news from last week. And on the previous podcast, I talked about shooting in Buffalo, New York, where great deal of loss of life. Since then, we've had a shooting in Southern California, or maybe we talked about that already. The shooting there at the church in Orange County, and then the absolute massacre, devastating news out of Texas, Uvalde, Texas, last week, where 21 people were killed, 19 of them children. I believe my numbers are correct there. At a school, an 18-year-old managed to get inside a school. There's a lot of news still coming out about how he got in the school. If there were signs obviously before this even happened about some of his Facebook posts. He shot his grandmother before he went into this school. Just a truly tragic scene in Texas and for our country last week. And people want to say people immediately jump into politics with this stuff rather than let people grieve. And I understand it from this standpoint. There's people who truly do believe that if you take guns off the streets, if you just fix the gun laws, if you just make it so that there's background checks, and that if you just do all those things, these people, there are people that truly do believe that if we do those things, that these tragedies will stop. I disagree with that, but I understand in some way their heart I want to say their heart's in the right place. Not all of them. There's plenty of people too who just want to rip away guns because they don't want your freedom. They don't want you to have your Second Amendment rights. They don't want you to have the opportunity to defend yourself. And this is where I circle back to someone like Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr wants to look at his dad was killed in another country by terrorists. He hates guns, yet every day he walks into a building where he is, escorted and guarded by people with guns. So if Steve Kerr truly did mean the things that he said, I think it would be a bold proclamation for him to say, I'm not going to have armed security anymore. I'm not going to do it. That would, at least I would take you seriously. But when you say we need to do something and throw your tantrum at your table, all you're doing is trying to get woke points. And I want to say it from this standpoint, as far as guns go. Okay, unfortunately, we had 3 recent shootings, that kind of gives us data points, kind of gives us examples, right? In 2 of the places, in 2 of the locations of the gun violence, New York and California, 2 of the places with the most strict gun laws out there. There's probably not another law that could have been made that would have prevented this tragedy. In Texas, a state that has a lot more gun rights, has a lot less gun laws, less restrictive, we'll say. This individual purchased a firearm with, a background check. And because he was 18 years old, you don't have much of a background unless you have a rap sheet as a juvenile or something. There's not much to check as far as the background goes. So that's another thing you hear a lot with backgrounds. There are background checks. And unfortunately, the loophole in a background check is if you've never done anything bad in the past, which a lot of these, unfortunately, these incidences happen. It is the first time monsters of this nature have done something like this. So nothing pops off on their background check, unfortunately. So that is just a loophole in that concept. And again, it's crazy to me. Now I know there were kids involved, and I can't express how horrible this is enough. And I'm sure I'll get people who want to call me, you're just a Second Amendment, NRA guy who doesn't care about kids or people. And no, far from it. I care greatly about kids. I care greatly about all individuals in the United States and around the world. I don't like people dying, anybody dying. I don't want anyone to die. Well, I want some people to die. The guy that committed these atrocities, I want him to die. He needs to die and die sooner. And I'm curious for you anti-death penalty people. This is a great example. What would you do had this guy lived? Would you say, hey, he needs to be life in prison? Or would you say, let's execute him immediately? So I would like to be consistent in that area. Someone that does something this heinous and this evil, I would like to see them executed very soon. I am very happy he was killed in this incident. But anyway, well, I'm going to calm down and stay calm here. I'm going to try to take this slow. So you have to ask yourselves, people just say, we need background checks. We need sensible, that's my favorite. We need sensible gun laws. We need common sense gun laws. But you notice that they're never specific when they say that. Again, the left's very good about catchphrases and lines and the language. What law, you got to ask yourself, it's unfortunate. I'm not trying to diminish what happened. I can't say that enough. But what specific law would have changed what happened? What specific law would prevent a criminal committing a crime? I'll tell you one way we could have started. I've said this for months now. First of all, the whole concept of making crime illegal again. Okay, California, I'm shocked this doesn't happen more because crime is almost encouraged. Oh, you committed a crime? Yeah, we'll let you right back out. COVID or whatever, or prisons are crowded. Use the prison inmates, put them to work. build more prisons. And then they're going to want their prison to be nice because this is their living arrangements, right? So maybe they're going to work a little hard. They won't shortcut, the construction and everything. Let's put them to work. I'm just brainstorming, and I'm sure, oh man, that's reprehensible. How could you say that? I don't know. What we're doing isn't working. So maybe we try something a little more extreme. But the whole concept of decriminalizing crime, basically, that is attributed to these things. We've had guns in this country for years. We didn't have all these massive shootings that we've had since Columbine. It's a lot of copycat stuff, I know. But what has changed? What has changed? We get more guns, more access to them? I would argue that we've had less access to guns. Now, someone could steal something from their parents or, which is irresponsible to not lock things up, and guns are stolen. Criminals on the street. You think every gun registered by the Bloods and the Crips? You think all their guns are registered and purchased properly? You think all the murders that are going on in Chicago daily? You think those guns are registered? You think those are legally purchased firearms? Probably not. Now, in this incident in Texas, the gun was legally purchased, and that's what's raising everybody, what's riling everybody up. The fact that this gun was purchased and then it was used to murder 19 children. But what we don't look at is the individuals. We want to constantly look at the guns. It's crazy, especially when it's a narrative base. It sickens me, really. The murders in New York, the murders in California, they weren't as much a big a deal of. No, not because it was less people who died, but because there's already pretty heavy gun laws in those states. That shows you how sick some of the leadership is. Well, we'll get to those later. Oh, but this happened in Texas. They have like free got laws there. We got to jump all over this one. And yes, because 19 children were killed. Okay, I'm saying uncomfortable things that someone may not want to hear, but we have to look internally. Again, if I'll play along. I don't want gun violence. I can't express that enough. I don't want it. People want to blame the NRA for anytime one of these things happen. Although, to my knowledge, I don't know any of these mass shooters being any of them being NRA members. What the argument is, well, Matt, but they push and they don't let gun restrictions happen. What gun restrictions can we put out there? What are these common law gun restrictions? What are I want clarity. There's also no comments on the daily gun violence that goes on in a city like Chicago. I say Chicago because it's basically a war zone, and the numbers speak for themselves. There's gun violence there but again, Chicago, what do they have? Really restrictive gun laws. So that's not a story. We can't talk about the dozens of people killed every week there. Every week, dozens, more than in Uvalde, more than in Buffalo. But no, if it's a mass shooter attacking everyone, well, now we have to politicize this. This is how sick some of the politicians are. Does all life matter? I thought we were talking about that, anyway. And yeah, for you celebrities, you Steve Kerrs of the world, you Gabe Kapler, who wants to kneel now or not kneel, just not come out for the national anthem. Again, I've said this before about anthem kneelers. They take the anthem and they take something. We're supposed to honor other people who have made our country, our lives better. The opportunity and yes, you have the right to protest here in America. Yes. Okay, fine. But you're taking something that's not about you. It's not about you. And it's really funny protesting the national anthem regarding like gun rights, as the song is basically being written as England has invaded America in the War of 1812. Almost, what would that be? 40 years after the Declaration of Independence and all that stuff. So that is the true irony, which is hysterical. I'm sure people don't want to hear me talk about guns up here. People are like, man, you're just, you know what? We got to change. We need change. Okay, offer a solution. Don't say you're not going to collect every gun in America. That's not going to happen. What are you going to do? Universal background checks? What if no one's had anything on their background check and then they go commit a murder? I have some solutions and they're not really related to guns. I think it has a lot to do with social media, with locking kids indoors for 2 years, with taking basically any mention of God out of this country. How about family structure? How about families? And again, when something like this happens, my first thought is, where's this dude's parents? Does he have both parents? Does he have any parents? He shot his grandmother. I mean, fathers in the home, that's a real deal. No, you can't mention that. No. That's not a root cause. We have changed so much as a society. Just our foundation is it's just rocked. And again, I'll say it again. We've had guns in this country forever. Lots of guns, more guns probably in the past, because you could purchase almost anything back in the day. And where was all these mass shootings? And I don't want to hear, America is the only place where this happens. It's not the only place this happens. It's the only place the media will tell you that it happens, but that's just not true. So I'm not saying it should be the Wild West. Everyone should have a gun and we just see what happens. No, I understand that there are restrictions that, common sense gun law. I think there are common sense gun laws out there. Common sense gun laws. Have they worked in California? Have they worked in Illinois? Have they worked in New York? Have they worked? Typically, the places with the most restrictive gun laws have the most gun violence. So you got to ask yourself, why does that happen? And this whole Uvalde shooting, it is very, very suspicious to me. Yes, someone went into a school and shot up a bunch of kids. What's really troubling is hearing some of the reports about law enforcement activity, why a door was left open at the school that allowed him to enter, what took so long for law enforcement to get into the school as the gunman was in there, locked in rooms with kids. Like, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And it sickens me that we live in a world where something like this can happen. And immediately everyone want to point to the gun. How about the evil person that I called him a person? I'm sorry. How about the evil being that committed these acts? How about the evil being that ran over a bunch of people in a parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin? Did we ban trucks when that happened? Did we ban? This is going to be very unpopular, but I don't care. I'm at a point in my life, guys. I don't care. I saw this meme and I said, you know what? That's pretty darn accurate. This is a very dark thing to say. And no one thinks more about 9/11 than me. I shouldn't say that. There were victims there who went through it all, but the 9/11 has been on my mind ever since the day I saw it. I witnessed it, not in person, of course, but when 9/11 happened, what did we do as a country? Did we have less flights? No, we firmed up a way to have tighter security. We don't like things we got to go through at TSA now. All right, but it's for a reason. We don't want that tragedy to strike again. So I'm up for, again, a common sense, in their words, common sense law, litigation, not litigation, but just, what is it? California, they do things like, well, you can't have a 12-round magazine, but you can have a 10-round magazine. Oh, that's supposed to magically fix a tragedy. Guy, you just reload. Two extra bullets. You shouldn't need 12 bullets. That's an example of the type of laws that California creates. You're not allowed to have a 12-round magazine. You can have a 10-round magazine. That's an example. That law is supposed to save lives, I guess. The AR, it's an assault rifle, an assault weapon. What is an assault weapon? Can you explain? Can somebody define what an assault weapon is? Well, it's a military. Yeah, it's a military grade weapon. No one needs. No, the government does not need to be telling me what I do or don't need. that slippery slope. That's why gas prices are $8 here in Los Angeles, because people don't need gasoline. It's evil. It's ruining the country. It's ruining our earth. Well, you can still have it. We're just going to charge you an arm and a leg for it. In California, because we have we tax everything. We're going to have a gas tax because we care about the environment. We don't care about poor people who have to pay the $8 a gallon in gas. We pretend to care about poor people, but we really don't care about poor people. Do you see how this all works? We're going to restrict your water usage. What? Excuse me? I pay for the water. Yes, but you can only have so much of it. This is a very slippery slope when we start telling people what you do need. You know, we don't need social media. We don't need podcasts. We don't need big TVs. How about food? How about food shortages? Shit, we all overeat. I know I do. Let's restrict how much food you're allowed to have. Does this sound like socialism? That's the slope you go down when you start down this route. So I can't express it enough. The tragedies we've seen the past few weeks, and the people that I'm tired of saying thoughts and prayers. I want things to change. Well, why don't you look inside your communities? Generally are the ones, the Democrat-run communities are the ones that are most violent. So let's start there. As far as common sense gun law, okay, yeah, if you have a record, a criminal record, I'd be in favor of restricting a purchase there. I'm not stupid and think just anyone should have whatever they want. I'm all for it, but you have to provide facts and numbers, and you have to provide things that will help. You can't just I don't know of a law passed that would have prevented this tragedy. I don't know of one. I can't think of one, because most people who want to murder people, they don't care what law they're breaking. They're literally going to break a law. Let's make murder more illegal. It is illegal. And it's wrong and it's evil. We'll make it more. If you make it more illegal, somehow make it not just illegal, but super illegal, then it won't happen. That's the logic. And that's the slippery slope we go down. I'll try to break away from this. I will tell you guys right now, if you've listened to this long enough today, you're still with me. There will be a pretty heavy discussion about this on Friday, as I am scheduled right now to be joined by Mr. Bill Barnes. We're supposed to record Thursday morning for our Friday podcast. He's coming, not out of retirement, but I told you he'd come on once every couple months onto the podcast as a Friday guest because he was a fan favorite, and he's pretty heated about some of the things going on in the country the past few weeks, and he's ready to unload, and we might debate some of this. Definitely Bill Barnes will say his piece, and I will as well. So that is the plan for this Friday. I will, of course, keep you guys posted of that on social media and forth, but I will back away from it a little bit for now. I guess ultimately I'll say common sense and senseless gun laws. What are they? I need examples. You can't just say a magical phrase that makes everybody feel good. You need an actual, back it up. Okay, what is that? And number two, there's a lot more that goes on that is contributing to this than the firearm. I would argue the firearm is probably the least of the cause of. It's the end result. It's the weapon that is used in these atrocities. But before that insane person pulls the trigger, what leads up to that moment? I think those are things we can work on. And unfortunately, you bring up fathers in the home, you bring up putting, God back in people's lives. People, my church attendance has wavered big time, but for a lot of people, do regular churchgoers, you see some of these guys, are they out there committing crimes? It's just it's not the Band-Aid, but it's definitely some of the old school ways, that we don't like to look back on. Maybe they were around for so long because they worked, oh, it's a new age. You're an old fuddy-duddy, whatever. I don't even, I'll get off it, but Bill Barnes on Friday. I hope you'll join me for that episode. And I will try to step away from some of my commentary here regarding the gun violence we've seen. And I will instead pivot to some baseball talk, as this past weekend was really a great weekend for college baseball. The conference tournaments, they absolutely delivered. The first ever Pac-12 tournament was really something to see. All the conferences crowned a champion, meaning somebody that, or a team that would be represented into the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. And then Monday, the field of 64 was announced. So it was a really, really great weekend of baseball, some big upsets, some crazy moments. I will run through a few right now. Stanford, who's one of the top teams in the country, they swept the Pac-12 tournament 4-0, didn't lose at all. They had some great wins. It was the semifinal, though, that really got the news of the weekend. Oregon State and UCLA played an absolute marathon on Saturday. They actually played 2 games. This was the first game. Oregon State needed 1 win to advance to the final. UCLA needed to beat Oregon State twice because the Beavers hadn't lost yet and the Bruins had 1 loss. And this will feed into our baseball term of the day for the end of the show. But in most of these tournaments and the postseason in college baseball, it's all double elimination. So once you lose 2 games, you're out. And so that's why you see these teams sometimes that you have a back-to-back game where you got to beat somebody twice. It's basically like a team being down 3-2 in a 7-game series. You got to win game 6 and 7, right, to advance. So sometimes that comes up in these tournaments. And it was Oregon State who needed 1 more win. They were up 21-12 in the first game of this, what ended up being a 2-game semifinal. UCLA scored 9 runs in the bottom of the 9th to tie the game. I think they scored all those 9 of those runs with like no outs, or like before there was an out recorded. So they tied the game at 21-all. Oregon State got a run in the top of the 10th, and then UCLA scored once and then had a 3-run walk-off home run to win the game 25-22 in one of the craziest baseball games I've ever seen. And it was 5 hours and 44 minutes for a 10-inning game, which is just a lifetime. A ton of pitching changes and things. But for all the people that are like, we want more offense in baseball, it's like, really? This is what you want? 25-22? I don't think the UCLA or the Oregon State football teams scored 25 or 22 points during most of their football games this year. So that was something to see. But almost 50 hits, almost a 6-hour game, over 5 hours for 9 innings. I mean, it was crazy. And then they turned around and played each other again 45 minutes later. This time Oregon State pulled away and won and advanced to the Pac-12 championship, where they lost to Stanford. So that was kind of the big news from the weekend as far as conference tournaments went. Both Stanford and Oregon State ended up being host cities for the 16 regionals, which I'll get to in a second. But I want to run down a few notable conference tournament results. In the WCC, San Diego swept their 4-team tournament 3-0. Same with the Mountain West. The Air Force Academy, with their first ever conference tournament win, I believe their first ever trip to the NCAA tournament. So there's a reason to root for a team. If your team is not in this year's tournament, hey, pull for them Falcons, man. The first time in school's history for them, at least winning the tournament. New Mexico State, they swept the WAC tournament 4-0. SEC, who is hands down or the best conference for sure, but I want to say Tennessee, hands down the best team in the tournament this year. They are the number 1 team in the nation. They lead the nation, I think, in home runs and in ERA, so they can slug it, they can pitch it. Just a complete team. A little too rowdy for my taste, but we'll see what happens with them in the postseason. They dominated the SEC tournament. Oklahoma against Texas, and they played it in the Big 12 tournament. They played it in the Rangers ballpark, Globe Life Theater, or whatever it is. No, that's the place in England for the Shakespeare theaters. But anyway, Globe Field, whatever it is, they played there. That was pretty cool to see the Big 12 teams playing there. TCU against Texas was pretty crowded. And then, of course, Texas and Oklahoma for the title was really cool to see. And it was Oklahoma who routed Texas in the Big 12 title game to become Big 12 champs and get in the tournament themselves. So congrats to the Clark family out there, as I know they listen to the podcast quite a bit. Oklahoma Sooners win the Big 12. In the ACC, it was North Carolina who beat NC State for the ACC championship. in a all Carolina battle there. And I do feel for a school like NC State. If you guys remember last year, they were in basically the Final Four of the College World Series. They were in the driver's seat to go to the national championship game. And because of stupid COVID testing protocols and all this, when no one else in the stadium was getting tested, they had some guys test positive and had to play a game with like 10 guys, and then ultimately had to basically forfeit their opportunity to play themselves into the national championship game. The reason I bring all this up is NC State got to the ACC championship game. I know not every team can make the tournament, but I feel like they got robbed, especially after last year, the NCAA shutting them down in Omaha to then not give them a bid. And I know it's all, earned, not given. I just, that didn't sit well with me that North Carolina State did not get a chance to go into the NCAA tournament after advancing to the ACC championship game and what happened last year. I just kind of like, come on, man, throw them a bone. I know everyone has a reason they think they deserve to get in, but I would have liked to seen the Wolfpack get in the 64 field tournament there. And finally, Michigan, the Big Ten champion, they rallied. I think they scored they beat all 4 top seeds. They were the 5 seed. They beat all 4 other seeds in the tournament to get in. I don't think they would have got in the NCAA tournament had they not won, but their offense looks great. Michigan Wolverines scratch and claw their way into the NCAA tournament. So that was kind of just a few conference tournament results I thought you guys would find interesting. The final four, in the NCAA tournament, there's 64 teams. Okay, so 16 teams, 16 4-team regionals this weekend, right? So 16 teams host 3 other teams and then 1 team out of those 4 teams advances to the super regionals. That's how you have 16 teams go to the super regionals. So it's rather exciting. When the NCAA releases the field of 64, they release the top 8 seeds. Basically, it's this kind of like in basketball when they say, hey, here's the 4 number 1 seeds in the 4 different brackets. It's kind of the same way in baseball. They're like, here's the top 8 seeds, meaning if they advance to the super regionals, these 8 teams will host. And theoretically, this is who they project to go to the College World Series, the top 8 teams. So I'll give you those 8 right now. I already mentioned Tennessee as number 1. Stanford at 2 and Oregon State in 3rd. They played each other in the Pac-12 tournament. They're the only 2 teams on the West Coast that are going to host regionals. So they could be the big time West Coast representatives moving forward here into the tournament. At 4 is Virginia Tech, 5 Texas A&M, 6 Miami, 7 Oklahoma State, and 8 East Carolina. So those are your top 8 seeds who on paper should be the 8 teams that go to Omaha. But we have to play out this weekend to determine which 16 teams will come out of these 4-team regionals. And then after that, it's a head-to-head in the super regionals with 1 other team, a best 2 out of 3. So again, double elimination. Once you lose 2 games this weekend, you're out. And the following weekend, it's 2 out of 3. So if you lose 2, obviously you're done as well. But anyway, lots of good baseball this weekend. Of note for you UCLA fans out there, they will be in the Auburn Regional going up against Florida State this Friday, 9 a.m. first pitch on ESPN2. So be sure to tune in there. I know I got a lot of UCLA Bruin fans out there, but be sure to follow that regional. And it's a lot of fun, guys. You play 1 game Friday, a game Saturday. If you're still alive after the first 2 games, you might play 1 or 2 games on Sunday, and then an if necessary game on Monday to see who will advance out of these 4-team regionals. So it's a great weekend for baseball, as it was last weekend, because this week is all do or die. It's win. You need 3 or 4 wins to advance, and you cannot lose more than 1 time before you're eliminated. So it's just so much fun. One of my favorite weekends of the year. I want to mention briefly, I said last week, Azusa Pacific and Point Loma University, they were playing in a Division II Super Regional, a 3-game series. Whoever won 2 games was going to advance to the Division II World Series. Friday, Point Loma won the first game. Saturday was game 1 of a possible doubleheader. APU won that game to force the extra game. Game 3 on Saturday, and it was Point Loma who took down the APU Cougars, and Point Loma advances to carry North Carolina for the Division II College World Series, where they will play 8 teams in Cary, North Carolina, same format as in Division I. But congrats to the APU Cougars on a great season. And man, they get so close every year. I know some people who listen, know students who go to that school or are affiliated. And APU baseball, they keep getting so close every year. They're always one game, maybe 2 games away from the World Series. And you hate to say it, but hey, maybe there's always next year. Additionally, on Memorial Day, I did watch the California Community College State Championship game. Congrats to the Riverside Community College Tigers, as they're, if you've been to their football games, you know what I mean by that. Riverside Community College Tigers on winning the state championship. They defeated the host school, Folsom Lake, in the championship game on Saturday. Folsom needed to win on Monday. But it was Riverside who took the first game, so the second game was not needed. They swept the state final, winning 3 consecutive games, 3 games, no losses, to become your 2022 California Community College state champions. So congrats to them. All right. Have I gone through all my baseball stuff? I sure have. I talked about Bill Barnes. I'm going to have, again, some topics this next week. Let me see. I'll get to all that stuff. I'll get that. Jim Gray made a comment briefly before our 9th inning segment. Boxing from this weekend. Javante Davis, Tank Davis, absolutely KO'd Rolando Romero. He improves now to 27-0. He won the WBA lightweight title. And what's impressive about Javante Davis, is 27-0 with 25 knockouts. So if this guy steps in the ring, he's knocking somebody out. And it was a counter left hook as he was being pushed up against the ropes by Romero, that he kind of countered with that left hand that absolutely chin checked Romero. He went flying into the ropes, went down, got up. The referee did a great job of saying, hey, walk to me, walk over there, and called it. But if you haven't seen that, I posted that on social media. You guys know I love my boxing. So Javante Davis with a great knockout over the weekend over Rolando Romero, and some good fight this weekend. Free fight alert on ESPN. It's George Gambosos. It's lightweight. Is this undisputed? No, I don't know if this will be Devin Haney against George Gambosos. Great fight in the lightweight division, multiple belts on the line. 7:00 p.m. Pacific. I know there's going to be a lot of college baseball to watch, but if you're looking for a good fight, obviously the main event of that card, 7:00 ESPN. You don't want to miss that. Tell me what you guys think of those 2 fighters, because they're 2 best in the business. Real Hondo Prep alert here. Real Hondo Prep. Just quick little notes from the past week or so. Want to give some props to a couple student athletes from Real Hondo Prep. As you guys know, I love to talk about my alma mater here. First, on the baseball side of things, a couple of young men were first team all prep league for Real Hondo Prep. Senior Gio Ortega, who's done so many great things in his athletic career. And it was also junior Ryan McCullough, who finished first team all prep league for Real Hondo Prep. Rio also had 2 guys on the second team for their baseball program, all league second team. That was Trevor Scott and Ray Montez, both of them seniors. So congrats to all those guys on a stellar athletic career, but also working hard there in baseball. It's probably the least, the least attractive sport at Rio. Maybe some would say basketball, but guys put in the work and really did a great job of being multi-sport athletes for the Cares. So congrats to all those guys on their success on the baseball field. Additionally, the girls softball program at Rio posted some really big time athletes on the all prep league side of things. It was Tatiana Ford, the Real Hondo Prep pitcher, who was the most valuable pitcher of the prep league. So congrats to her. She's had just an amazing career at Rio, in the circle there, leading the charge for the Cares on all of their softball adventures. But Rio had a lot of other girls here on the list. All prep league first team, Grace Pollock, Madison Metz, and Tatiana Ford, as I mentioned, as well as Elle Curtis for all first team prep league softball players there. So congrats, ladies. Additionally, Reagan Johnson, Rachel Chang, and Avery Pollock made all prep league second team. So congrats to the Cares in baseball and softball representing Rio Hondo Prep quite well. Representing, we'll say. And just a reminder, as I continue to work on over the weekend, the Charge to Keep podcast. I worked on the backgrounds. I posted a version of our alma mater. I'm very excited about this upcoming podcast where you will be able to find all Rio Hondo Prep content, most notably the football program here, was we are going to have episodes starting one in June, one in July, and probably every week starting in August. So I hope you guys will add that podcast to your podcast platforms and subscriptions, as I'm just very, very excited about that. And I will try to put all the Rio Hondo Prep thoughts and accolades and awards and everything on that podcast. Same studio here, same everything, but it's just going to be a new background. It's going to be new logos. It's a whole entire different podcast. So if you have not already, please go on YouTube. Please go on Apple, Spotify, wherever you look for your social media or wherever you find your podcast. Give me a like, give me a follow. They're on social media as well. Our information, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have Charge to Keep podcast pages. If you need specifically to find them or need my help, by all means, reach out to me and I'll point you in the right direction. But can't wait for that podcast upcoming. All right. To the bottom of the ninth we go. And that means we are going to be talking about a baseball slang term as well as a baseball rule as we try to educate ourselves here during the very long baseball season that started in April for the big leaguers. But before that, it was college baseball starting in February and they're into their postseason. And so as we get into the summer here, this is when it kind of becomes baseball is the premier everything. Once hockey and the NBA is out of the way, it's all baseball all summer long, and some really, really good memories and good things regarding baseball. But two things we're going to learn today. The first is our baseball slang term. And this one's pretty easy, but it's specifically for college baseball. And I just talked to you guys about the double elimination format in college baseball, right? You got to lose 2 games, and you lose 2, you're out. In the College World Series, it's 2 4-team brackets. So it's whoever wins, double elimination out of these 4, whoever's left remaining, and whoever's double elimination out of these 4, there's 1 remaining, and then they play each other in a 2 out of 3 championship series. So theoretically you could lose twice in Omaha, once in the double elimination play and then once in the championship series, but you're not eliminated because there's 2 different formats, brackets, whatever. So anyway, double elimination in college baseball here in the postseason. And so that is where today's term comes from. 2 and Q. Hey, how'd you guys do in the regionals? We went 2 and Q. And very simply said, it's a short version, a short way to say that we lost our first 2 games. And then you say Q because the saying goes, we went 0-2 barbecue, meaning 0-2. We lost our first 2 games, and then we're on to the summer barbecue, right? It's just done. So 0-2 barbecue. That's why people say, oh yeah, they're 2 and Q. 2 and Q, they're done. Just 2 quick losses in the tournament and they're out. So 0-2 barbecue, that's what it means by when people say 2 and Q. And again, that's only a college baseball term, but I thought in honor of the postseason that I would throw that out there to you guys. So hopefully your team does not go 2 and Q this weekend or next weekend or in Omaha, any playoff round. You want the barbecue to wait until as long as possible. So don't go 2 and Q, guys. Now, baseball rule. I was waiting to kind of when to use this, when to talk about this, but I'll just say it today. Umpires are getting a lot of grief. Umpires are getting screamed at, a lot of abuse. No one thinks they do anything right. And so I wanted to kind of put them at the forefront of the rule today. It's actually kind of 2 rules. It's the same terminology, but for like 2 very different plays. So I talked to you guys a few weeks ago about obstruction versus interference, and obstruction is by the defense, and interference for the most part is on the offense. I don't want to mess that up. But today I'm going to talk to you about umpire interference. And yes, there is such a thing. There's also a time when the umpire might get in the way, but it's not specified in the rule book that it is interference of any kind. But there are two types of umpire interference. One is generally by a plate umpire, and one is generally by a base umpire. Well, I guess one can only be by the plate umpire. Anyway, the two examples of umpire interference is a runner stealing a base. The catcher catches the ball, goes to throw the ball to retire the runner, attempt to retire the runner, and he hits the umpire's mask. That's 99 times out of 100 when this does happen. He hits the umpire's mask. The umpire interferes with his ability to complete the throw. It's an embarrassing moment. Sometimes it just happens. You do try to get in a position where you're out of the catcher's way, but sometimes the pitch doesn't go where it's wants to go. And so it just happens sometimes where the catcher cocks, hits the umpire's mask or his body or whatever, and it affects his throw to retire the runner. The ball remains live. So if he hits the umpire's mask and he still hits still retires the base runner, then the ball remains live and it's treated as if it didn't happen. Okay. But if the runner is able to achieve the base safely, it's just kind of like a do-over. Hey, it's embarrassing. Hey, umpire interference. He hit my mask. Runner by rule has to go back. He's not out. He's only out if the catcher's still able to throw him out. So the penalty for umpire interference of a catcher attempting to retire a base runner is the runner just has to go back to the base at the time of the pitch. So again, if he's able to throw out the runner and then other runners are moving on, the interference is ignored because his initial throw retired a base runner. So that is umpire interference from a plate umpire standpoint. The only other umpire interference that is specified in the rule book is a batted ball that hits an umpire that has not passed an infielder other than the pitcher. So an example, a lot of times the base umpire will be inside, meaning on the infield grass, behind the pitcher, kind of staggered to either first base side or second base side. If he is hit by a line drive, a ground ball, a ball that is not touched, that's the other not terminology. That is the other criteria. The ball cannot be touched. So if I said it's got to pass the pitcher, right? If the ball is hit, ground ball, and it passes the pitcher and it hits the base umpire, we're dead ball right away. Nobody can advance. Nobody can advance extra. I'll get to that in a second. The ball is dead. No outs can be recorded. So a couple of years ago, the line drive off the umpire, the shortstop picked up the ball, turned to double play, and everyone's like, that should be 2 outs. It's like, no, it's not 2 outs. It actually, everyone moves up a base from where they were. No, excuse me. The ball is dead and nobody advances unless you are forced. The exception if the runner was stealing. No, that's not it. That's a different rule. So you advance if forced. Now, if the runner on first base and a batted ball hits the base umpire, the runner from first has to advance because the batter is awarded first base. And what really sucks is we'll get into official scoring and things later on. That goes down as a base hit for the batter. So it may have been a routine double play that just so happened to hit the umpire. It did not pass an infielder other than the pitcher. In that case, it would then be ignored. Now, if the pitcher reaches his glove up, it deflects off the pitcher and then hits the umpire. Now we're alive. We're live and played. All bets are off. The interference is ignored and we play on. The other time the quote interference would be ignored is if, say, that's why the base umpires down the lines, they start there in foul territory so that this is avoidable if possible. If a batted ball hits the umpire, it has base umpire is always behind the first and third baseman. So if the batted ball hits a base umpire that has passed a first or third baseman, again, it's nothing. We're alive and in play. If it hits that base umpire and kicks directly to the pitcher who then, is able to throw the guy out, hey, tough break. That's just the way the ball bounces sometimes. So base umpire, if he is hit by a batted ball that does not pass an infielder other than the pitcher, the ball is dead. Runners move up only if forced. And of course, the batter gets first base. If the ball is deflected by the pitcher or another fielder, although all fielders are behind or in front of the umpires, if they are on the outside, but if the ball is deflected and hits an umpire, then it's nothing, we're alive and in play. And if the ball hits an umpire beyond a base, it's nothing, we're alive and in play. So hopefully that clarifies a couple of interference rules for you. There's other things that could happen in a game that aren't covered by rule. A pop-up, the first baseman, he goes and he runs into an umpire trying to chase the ball down. That's nothing. That's just a tough break. It's bad umpiring. If you do allow yourself to kind of get tangled, when the ball goes up, as umpires, we don't need to look up. We don't need to see it or catch it. Our immediate thoughts is when the ball gets popped up, we're looking down at fielders, and you try to let him go where he needs to go. You get out of his way because he's got to look up and pursue the ball. So that's an example where there could be, quote, interference, but it really is nothing of an umpire. He interfered. Yeah, but that's not umpire interference. Those are only two types. Batted ball that hits an umpire that is not deflected and does not pass an infielder other than the pitcher. And the other one is a stolen base with the catcher hitting the umpire's mask or something of that nature. So those are my two examples today of umpire interference. 2 and Q, that's your slang term for the week. And umpire interference. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. I know sometimes I get a little just crazy and rattled and all that. Anyway, enough for me. I'm out of thoughts. I'm out of ideas. I am out of time. Time for me to move on. But guys, tune in on Friday. Should be Bill Barnes on here on the podcast as our guest. I have a few more guests lined up that I've recorded with or will be recording with very soon. My initial thoughts right now are that I'm going to continue to have guests through the Friday episodes on through probably July 4th, somewhere in there. I think I'm going to take a break from the guests portion of this podcast because I will then be diving in weekly to the Real Hondo Prep Charge to Keep podcast, where I will be talking to guests and coaches and building up. That'll kind of take more of my time. I'll still have this Tuesday episode of just me, but as far as the guests go, I may take a break for the football season from, middle of July until the end of the football season, which is hopefully, Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. So that's the initial thought for now. Also give me a breather, a little break from the interviews, because those are tough to line up sometimes. And when I'm doing the other podcast, it can be a lot. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week. I should be here with Bill Barnes on Friday. That is the plan. But if not, I'll have another guest, and I'll be back next Tuesday for more random thoughts, my opinions, breaking down college baseball, other sports, a great fight from Saturday night. And guys, just remember, if you don't like the things I say, it's okay. You can always turn me off. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's all good. I turn this mic on, I start spewing into it, and hopefully I make sense to you guys, because it's good for me to kind of just get things off my chest. So stay safe out there. All seriousness. It's a crazy world we live in, and there's crazy bad people in it. So stay safe in all seriousness, and I will see you guys next week. But guys, as always, until then, no matter what you're doing, whether you're out on the town or rounding third base, get home safe.